Shalom, shalom, everybody. How y'all doing today? Welcome back. Good morning. All right, here we go. Welcome to the next edition of Reading with Shilo. Shalom, everybody. We are here to get into Miss Debi Pearl's book, Created to Be His Helpmeet. And we're here to get into chapter 16, which I was supposed to read yesterday, but man, I was out of there. I was out of there. So I'm going to go ahead and get it in today. We're going to dive into Miss Debi Pearl's book and see if there's anything that we can learn and grow from. Is there anything that we can learn and grow from Created to Be His Helpmeet? Yeah, it's directed towards the women, but maybe for the men, it might be something in there that they could possibly learn and grow from too. Maybe it's some things that they could take notice of within the marriage, that these things are being done, so that way conversations can be had. Conversations can be had with their wives, and what possibly can be done to help make their marriage a more heavenly marriage, a more peaceable marriage, a lasting marriage, a loving marriage, a joyful marriage, a thankful marriage, and many other good adjectives, good adjectives to go with the marriage. So we are getting into chapter 16 today. Chapter 16 is to be sober. We're going to pick up where we left off yesterday and going into the 8 things the 8 characteristics that God commanded the aged woman to teach the young women. The 8 characteristics. And the first characteristic is to be sober. To be sober, which I think is, to me, an easier one than others. I think being sober is definitely easier than the obeying of your husbands. I think even though that one should be easy, but I think women find the being sober can be easier than being obedient. But let's get into it. Let's dive into it. Number 1 of the 8 is 4, that they may teach the young women to be sober. To be sober, to do one's duty by moderate, self-controlled, thoughtful, and to learn to make wise decisions and judgments. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure. Isaiah chapter 33, verse 6. Common sense. A sober wife is one who faces the fact that she is no longer a free-willing individual. A sober wife faces the fact that she is no longer a free-willing individual with time to do as she pleases. Yeah, that's a hard pill for them to swallow as well. She knows that marriage is a joyous, but also a grave responsibility. She cannot be flighty, or frivolous. She makes a commitment to be the best wife, mother, and manager of the home that anyone could be. She becomes the acting CEO of a great enterprise of which her husband is the owner. Her most basic responsibility is to make her husband's home run smoothly. She assumes the role of coordinator of all affairs. If the home doesn't run in an orderly fashion, the marriage will not be joyous and fulfilling, and neither will child training. When a woman soberly considers the needs, time schedule, and resources of her home, then she will be more efficient. She will be a more efficient helpmeet. This planning will eliminate tension and help set a peaceful mood. It is the simple things in life that can break down a marriage and bring about a bitter divorce. But on the positive side, if it is the simple planning of life's activities that can bring health, prosperity, peace, and happiness to a sound marriage and produce gratifying family relationships. Men and children appreciate good meals, a clean house, and an atmosphere of peace, a refuge from the stress of life. Rude, insensitive jerk, rude, insensitive jerk. Dear Debbie, I was totally exhausted yesterday when my husband came home from work. The children were sick. I have a new baby and she was coming down with a fever. He came in and never inquired how I felt or how my day was. He started off by asking why the place was such a wreck and when will dinner be ready? Because it was the night for choir practice, and he wanted to get there early. He was rude, insensitive, and indifferent to my exhaustion, the kids' sickness, and everything else. He was so selfish and it hurt so badly. What was I supposed to do? Reward this selfish jerk with loving service? Jill. Dear Jill, it is your duty, your job, and in your best interest to serve your husband. Debbie. No one will dispute that Jill's husband is insensitive, but two wrongs don't make a good marriage. One right can make a big difference in a marriage and change that selfish old guy. Always keep in mind that your job is to do a good job serving him, so planning ahead is a must. If Jill had done better at her job, her husband would not have been such a jerk. Her husband expects you to plan ahead. He plans ahead at his place of work, otherwise, he will lose his job. If you plan ahead, conflicts like this can be avoided, and your husband will be proud to know he has a better wife than the other guys at work. If you pamper your husband, in time he will become more sensitive to your burden. But you must be a soldier and show yourself strong. Shit. You must be a soldier and show yourself strong. I have had many sick babies, and I know that sometimes it was not easy, but you can get the house in order and meals cooked and keep everything running smoothly all the same. As mothers, we will often be stressed over a sick child, but there is no reason to neglect our other duties. A sober wife makes herself the match of every circumstance. The assignment: learn to use the kitchen's wonder tool, the crock pot. Today, as I write this, it is Sunday. This morning at 8 a.m., I put several frozen chicken breasts and some rice into an electric crock pot. I added some water, celery, bell peppers, and seasonings and turned it on low heat. When we came into the house at noon, the house was filled with a delicious aroma, and dinner was ready except for a simple salad, which took a scant few minutes. After we had eaten, I added some seasoning and more water to the crock pot, which now had only a little rice and a few bits of chicken with broth. This simple soup simmered all afternoon and was the basis of our meal that evening. While at church, I asked one of the 11-year-old girls about feeding their family of 12. If your mama asked you to put on chicken in a crock pot or three chickens in three crock pots with rice and seasonings every Sunday morning, could you do it? Her 12-year-old sister laughed and said, "No problem. Simplify, simplify, simplify." Always offer your children only one choice for breakfast. Several options will only confuse the child's spirit. Choose also Choices also give room for argument and discontentment. Providing the same simple food every morning, except maybe Sunday, causes a child to look forward to getting cereal on that one special day. I can actually help your help. It can actually help your children to become more thankful and willing, and will bring about a more peaceful morning. A simple yet filling meal for the children's daily breakfast is peanut butter toast, which could be served on a paper napkin. Cleanup will be easy. If dad is not home for lunch, then the plan is to have the same basic wholesome food for lunch each day. You can keep, a crock pot of beans warm for simple burritos every day, with some vegetables added for variety along the way. This lunch can also be served on paper plates or napkins. Just a meal idea. Sunday night, put dried pinto beans and water into a crock pot to soak. Monday morning, turn the pot on low. Monday evening, grill minute steaks and bake sweet potatoes to eat with the beans. And she has a recipe: beans and rice. Beans are great for every day. 2 cups of black beans, dried, 9 cups of water, 2 tablespoons of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of sea salt. She has the recipe right here. I was going to read it, but I'm not. Add water to leftover beans and let cook on low all night to be used with taco salad as refried beans. And an hour before dinner, wash and tear some lettuce, chop up an onion, a bell pepper, and 2 tomatoes in preparation for a taco salad. Brown 2 pounds of ground beef. Put half of the cooked meat in a plastic bag in the refrigerator for spaghetti on Wednesday. Ooh, good thinking ahead. Season the other half of the meat with taco seasoning and keep warm. Set your table and lay out sour cream, grated cheese, hot sauce, corn chips, chopped vegetables, beans, and meat. Wednesday at noon, put your reserved pre-cooked ground beef, chopped and sauteed onions, peppers, and celery in the crock pot with crushed tomatoes and a can of tomato paste with spaghetti seasonings. An hour before dinner, make a salad and heat water. Ready to drop in noodles 10 minutes before dinner. Wednesday night, rinse out your crock pot and put dried black beans into it to soak. Hmm. Oh, that's some thinking ahead. That's what meal prepping. Meal prepping. Thursday morning, turn your crock pot on low with the black beans in it. 2 hours before dinner, add smoked sausages to the black beans. Cook enough rice for 2 meals and serve the black beans over rice with sour cream, chopped onion and tomatoes, and grated cheese. Add water to the leftover black beans in the crock pot and a small handful of rice to simmer overnight for you and the children's lunch on Friday. Put the leftover rice in the refrigerator for Friday's dinner and of fried rice. Shit, I know many people holler about they don't like leftovers, but shit, I do. I do me some leftovers. Friday, use leftover crock pot black beans and rice for children's lunch. Take leftover rice from refrigerator and make fried rice. Chop onions, bits of meat, chicken, ham, bacon, or beef. No ham for me. Chicken, turkey bacon, lamb bacon, or beef. Saute, mix with rice, then add scrambled eggs and soy sauce to rice. Season with salt and pepper and make a fresh salad. Saturday, since it's the Sabbath for me, no cooking. Have a cookout with hamburgers, open cans of baked beans, and cookies for dessert. Sunday, have your chicken ready for the crock pot. Early Sunday morning, put a chicken, a stalk of celery, and a can of cream of chicken soup in the crock pot and season. Just before you leave for church, cut 10 flour tortillas into 2-inch wide slices and drop into the pot with the chicken. Enjoy yummy chicken and dumplings when you come home from church. When I was a child, we always had the same food on certain days. Dinner was ready at 5 p.m. Dinner was ready at 5 p.m. Dinner was ready. I'm going to just mark that part. Dinner was ready at 5 p.m. I think 5 p.m. is kind of early, me. I would do 6, but 5 p.m. is still good. Just to be ready is still good. Plenty of time for plenty of other things. We always had peas, potatoes, and minute steaks on Monday. meatloaf with sweet potatoes and coleslaw on Tuesday. Wednesday dinner was roast with mashed potatoes and green beans, spaghetti and salad for Thursday evening, and fish and chips and salad on Fridays. The meal Jesus prepared for his company. The regular dinners each weeknight made it easier for mom to plan and buy the week's groceries, and dad would look forward to the meal he knew would be hot and waiting for him when he came home from work. The key is to plan. A grocery list with the week's meal well defined is a very handy tool. As wives, your life's work should be to perfect how we may please our husbands. Sometimes maintaining a good relationship with your husband simply requires the performing of simple tasks, like having a good meal ready on time and a clean house, even when it is not easy and or convenient to do so. Hmm, Mark that too. Sometimes, no, mark that. As wives, your life's work should be to perfect how we may please our husbands. Sometimes maintaining a good relationship with your husband simply requires the performing of simple tasks, like having a good meal ready on time and a clean house, even when it's not easy or convenient to do so. Traits of a good helpmeet. A good helpmeet provides an oasis for her man. She fixes meals that please him. She does not cook to suit herself. She plans and prepares well ahead of time. She exercises self discipline. Strawberries and sweet love. I have sweet childhood memories of time spent picking strawberries. The thing I remember most vividly is my wrinkled old grandpa down on his knees beside me picking strawberries and talking up one row and down the other about my grandma and how much he loved her. Apparently, he didn't see her bulging country dress, the thin white hair, and her wrinkled old face. The thought of him loving her and of her being a beautiful woman was a novel idea to my young brain found delightful. I remember giggling so much that sometimes it was hard to pick strawberries. His declaration of love was also very comforting. My grandma honored and obeyed my grandfather. It was their foundation of love and honor that made the family, even the extended family, strong. As you read the next story, written by my good friend and first cousin, that they were her grandparents too. You will see how we were conditioned to please our husbands. They taught us to resist taking offense and that we were never to give him, our husbands, a piece of our mind. If grandma did get offended, no one would know it because it was well understood that a lady had duties. It was well understood that a lady had duties. How many ladies believe that they have duties now? It was well understood that a lady had duties, and she must be sober in her execution of them. A wise woman doesn't ever allow herself to be a liability, but strives to always be an asset to the marriage. She looks for ways to make, save, and use money wisely. Her husband knows he is a richer man because she is his wife. What is a cold dinner? What is a cold dinner? Life is so much different from what it used to be. Several of us ladies were sitting around a dinner table recently, telling about some of our early disastrous cooking experiences. It brought vivid memories of my newlywed days when I was married. I really didn't know how to cook anything. On top of that, my family ate strictly country, peas and cornbread, still my favorite, ham, pork chops, fried chicken, turnip greens, etc., while my husband's family ate a very different type of diet. I'll never forget that hot afternoon. We lived in an apartment in the back of an old Victorian style house, which consisted of a living room, kitchen combination, and a bathroom. We had no air conditioning, and that far down south could get really miserable in the summer. One sultry summer day, I worked hard to prepare a home cooked meal for my husband and had it ready when he came home from the hard day of construction work. When he walked in the door, he was so hot and sweaty, he took one look at the hot meal and said in despair, "This is not a day for a hot meal. This is the kind of day you need a cold meal." My heart was just crushed. Hot and sweaty myself, I had slaved to serve him the best way I knew how. I had never even heard of a cold meal. What on earth was he talking about? At that point in my life, a tomato stuffed with tuna uh, or chicken salad was totally foreign to me. I must tell you, my story wasn't very funny 30 years earlier. But as I finished telling it to my friends, we were all laughing about how crushed I was that day. I was surprised to see that one of the younger women at the table didn't think it was funny, as she huffily retorted, "Did you throw it at him?" I would have. This stopped me in my memory tracks. Was I angry? Did I want to throw the meal in his face? I really don't remember ever having that thought. I do remember being hurt and sad. But my most compelling thought was to figure out how to prepare cold meals. When I married, I became Mrs. Lansing. His life, his agenda, and his desires became mine. I considered my marriage to be my career for the rest of my life, and I intended to be successful at it. Let me mark that one. She considered her marriage to be her career. How many women consider marriage to be their career? They're so wound up in their career. My career, my career. How many think marriage is a career? I do. Being a housewife is definitely a career. If he didn't like the food that I cooked, rather than refusing to cook anymore, saying that he was just too hard to please, I learned to cook the food he liked. I just wanted and was determined to please him, and I found that he really was not that hard to please. Most men are not hard to please. I heard someone recently say that all a man needs is food, sex, and respect, and he'll be pretty content. That is certainly an oversimplification, but from experience, I know that those things are the basic, rudimentary needs of all husbands. And so I have worked at it from that perspective for almost 33 years. It is still my goal to be pleasing to my husband. I am pleased to tell you that he delights in me. I was determined to earn his delight. Older and wiser and still very much in love. Frida, and not Big Frida from New Orleans. A wise woman doesn't let little things stir her spirit into agitation. With a quiet and meek spirit, she seeks to make all things better. Reflecting on number one, was it pleasing to the Lord for Frida to seek to prepare meals to her husband's liking? Number two, would it have been sin to respond with anger or hurt feelings? Number three, would you have sought to please your husband if he had shown such insensitive in ingratitude? Number four, do you think her husband was just trying to be cruel? Number five, when you first married, did you think of your marriage as a career of pleasing your husband? Hmm. That number five one is a that's the one that's gonna put some ladies in a pickle right there, boy. A virtuous woman is a crown to her husband, but she that maketh ashamed is as rottenness as in his bones. Proverbs chapter 12, verse 4. Make a new habit. Most wives reading this book were trained not to honor their husbands. You were most likely trained by a mother's example to disrespect and resent your dad. Ooh-wee. She hit that one on the nail. You were trained by watching your mom show displeasure at your father's bad habits. And nothing has changed in the way you relate to your husband. It seems natural to be angry rather than to seek change for the better. It is not easy to break a well established tradition, but it will certainly be worth the effort. Liberated to sorrow. Beginning with the women's liberation movement in the 1960s, women have been taught and are expected to resent men in authority. All media, magazines, movies, and popular books have promoted eradication of the distinction between male and female. Oh man, she knocking on some she knocking some stuff down now. The established churches, all as always, are only about 1 decade behind the world. So Christian books and ministries have followed with their own female liberation theology. Ministers and theologians have devised ways of dismissing the authority of the words of God found in Scripture that speak about the nature and duty of men and women. It has gone so far that the churches are now convinced that the Bible supports this modern view. When I was a child, no one in our large extended family could ever remember a divorce on either side of the family, including many aunts, uncles, cousins, and grandparents. Neither was there a case of wife abuse or child abuse in the last 50 years. All that was dramatically changed. It is hard to believe, but the following assignment was found in the 1950s public high school home economics workbook. When I was in school, this is what the general public was being taught. Can you imagine what an outcry it would cause if someone put this in public school textbook today? How to be a good wife today, taken word for word from the 1950s public high school home economics textbook. Have dinner ready, plan ahead, even the night before, to have a delicious meal on time. This is a way of letting him know that you have been thinking about him and are concerned about his needs. Most men are hungry when they come home, and the prospect of a good meal is part of the warm welcome needed. Prepare yourself. Take 15 minutes to rest so that you'll be refreshed when he arrives. Touch up your makeup, put a ribbon on you in your hair, and be fresh looking. He has just been with a lot of work weary people, but a little gay. Be a little gay and a little more interesting. His boring day may need a lift. Clear away the clutter. Make one last trip through the main part of the house just before your husband arrives. Gather up school books, toys, and papers. Then run a dust cloth over the table. Your husband will feel he has reached a haven of rest and order, and it will give you a lift too. That's a big one too for people. That's a big one. Prepare the children. Take a few minutes to wash your children's hands and faces if they are small. Comb their hair, and if necessary, change their clothes. They are little treasures, and he would like to see them playing the part. Minimize all noise. At the time of his arrival, eliminate all noise of the washer, dryer, dishwasher, or vacuum. Try to encourage the children to be quiet. Be happy to see him. Greet him with a warm smile. Shh. I know that one is hard. That is a scarce one right there. Some don't. Don't greet him with problems or complaints. Don't complain if he is late for dinner. Count this as minor compared to what he might have gone through that day. Make him comfortable. Have him lean back in a comfortable chair or suggest he lie down in the bedroom. Have a cool or warm drink ready for him. Arrange his pillow and offer to take off his shoes. Speak in a low, soft, soothing, and pleasant voice. Allow him to relax and unwind. Listen to him. You may have the dozen things to tell him, but the moment of his arrival, it's not the time. Let him talk first. Make the evening his. Never complain if he does not take you out on a date, out to dinner, or to other places of entertainment. Instead, try to understand his world of strain and pressure. He needs to be home and relax. The goal: try to make your home a place of peace and order where your husband can renew himself in body and spirit. That's a heavy one. Do you see what has happened in the last 50 years? Every high school girl was taught a conservative worldview that was more biblical in perspective than what the churches teach today. A wise woman patterns her life after her husband's. His working, playing, eating, and sleeping habits become hers. I'm about to have a nervous breakdown. This letter shows how not getting our way often causes us to have a nervous, troubled spirit instead of quiet, sober spirit God expects us to have. It was good to hear that this lady finally found peace. The article she refers to can be found in the No Greater Joy org.org website. I heard your article read publicly called Carnal Husbands, Cranky Wives, and Cantankerous Kids while at a seminar in Knoxville. It was the first time I realized my anxiety controlled my husband and was a reflection of my lack of confidence in him. As we left the seminar and were fighting traffic, my husband spoke up that we needed to stop for gas. Miles passed and still the traffic was bumper to bumper. Suddenly, we were free and in the mountains with no place to buy gas. I was in an extreme state of turmoil. I had worked myself up to a state that I wanted to scream at him to go back into the city to get gas. I could see the gas gauge. It was totally empty. I kept quietly raging to God that this was the exact reason why I had to take control, since He is the most irresponsible man and does not make wise decisions. I felt that I should tell him what to do. I was so nervous, I was almost sick, but for the first time, I kept my mouth shut and looked interestedly at the hills. 10 miles up into the mountains, we finally came to an exit that had a gas station, and my husband turned to me, smiled, and said, "What happened to you? You're not a nervous wreck like you usually are. I'm so glad you've learned to relax. Isn't life a lot more fun when you're not so full of fear? I'm proud of you." I had to stop and think. Even if we had run out of gas, would it have been a tragedy? I could see that I had turned many things into monsters. I had the opposite of a meek and quiet spirit that we are supposed to have. I have learned not to let my fears and irritations over uncertain circumstances control me, and much worse, my husband. I am learning to lean on my husband, Sarah. Yeah, lean on your husband, Sarah. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus. Philippians chapter 2, verse 5. Personal shrines. Many women lack biblical soberness, as seen in the way they treat their houses as shrines to be protected, rather than as spaces in which to enjoy their families. They get emotionally upset if the carpet gets messed up or if the kids accidentally spill milk on the couch. They become emotional wrecks over their physical surroundings. If you have that problem, let me ask you, how would you feel if your husband provided nothing more than an open barn with which to deliver your first baby? That was the case with Mary, the mother of Jesus. Do you think God could have used Mary to be the mother of Jesus if she had allowed herself to become an emotional wreck with her environment was not, if to become an emotional wreck when her environment was not clean or orderly? Think of the teenage girl, Mary, clinging to the back of the bouncing donkey, contractions pulling at her exhausted body while her desperate husband searched for a place for her to deliver their child. Many have speculated as to what virtues Mary had that prompted God to choose her to be the mother of our Lord. I can tell you what she was like. She had eternity in her heart. She was self-possessed, thoughtful, and was always learning to make wise judgments. When a young woman learns to be sober, she will not live for immediate gratification. She will appreciate those things that would last for eternity. Mountain Ma and Paul. Mountain Ma and Paul by Rebecca Pearl, age 16 in April 1991. Oh, so much to do. Oh, so much to be done. The work's never through, and the work ain't much fun. No thanks for your labor. No pay for the job. Just what's for supper? How about corn on the cob? You mop and you sweep, you dust and you shine. Then turn around and what do you find? His shoes on the floor, his coat on the chair, his rear in the couch, and his feet in the air. So you kick off your shoes and you throw down your broom and you wink at your old man so he'll make you some room. This is why mom and pop are happily married. Reflecting on sober. Traits of a good help. A good helpmeet establishes a haven of rest. She will adjust to her husband's time schedule and eating habits. She will relax and enjoy her family instead of worrying and fretting. Words God uses to describe the godless woman, located in verses in the concordance, and locate the verses in the concordance and write them down. Ask God to cause you to hate any sign of these things in your life. Believe and know that God will set you free. Foolish, clamorous, simple, knowing nothing, like a swine, a fat pig, with a gold nose jewel, brawling, contentious, angry, odious, tattler, busybody, without discretion, wanderers from house to house, stubborn and loud. Getting serious with God. Think of an occasion in the recent past when you became angry or were hurt because your husband responded in the way that you felt was wrong. Keep in mind that the other side of the coin of being angry is being hurt. It is one and the same coin, and it buys the same results: a bad marriage and a strained relationship. How different do you think the end of the struggle might have been if you had kept in your mind that your job was to please your man? Write your own story. First, write the one that ended in the big fight, and next, write the story as it should have ended. Remember, he doesn't have to be right or kind for you to react in a godly way. Remember, he doesn't have to be right or kind for you to react in a godly way. This exercise will help you see the rationale for honoring your husband in a different light. And that was chapter 16. That was chapter 16, to be sober. Ooh, chapter 17. I can't wait. To love their husbands. Number 2, to love their husbands. Chapter 17 is the second characteristic that God's commands that be taught, that the aged women need to teach the younger women: to love their husbands. To love their husbands. Ooh, I think that one's going to be a good one. I think they're all going to be good. I think all these next 8 chapters, all the chapter today, be sober was good. But the next 7 chapters after this, I think they're all going to be good. To love their husbands, to love their children. To be discreet, keepers at home, chaste, good. What's the last one? The last one, I believe, is obedient. Seven is good. Where's 8? Says Proverbs 31, after good. And number 8, obedient to their own husbands. Ooh-wee. That obedient word be busting on the side of the head, man, making them feel some type of way. But by the time we get to number 8, man, we're almost done with the book, man. We're almost done with the book. Like I said, that was chapter 16 of Created to Be His Helpmeet by Miss Debi Pearl. To be sober. We'll come back on the next edition of Reading with Shilo with chapter 17. To love their husbands. Oh, man, to love their husbands. But that's what it was, man. I appreciate everybody who may come back and watch this later. Welcome to all the new subscribers, new subs. Welcome back to all the old ones, family, friends who may look at this. I hope that you enjoy it. I hope that there's something that you can pull from the reading that maybe you can learn and grow from. It can help you in your marriages, or maybe it can help you to see why your marriage may have failed or ended the way it's ended or going the way it's going. Miss Debbie Pearl definitely has some pretty good scriptures and some pretty good insight, especially with all those letters that she's been written over the years. But we'll end it there. And we're gonna see y'all next time. So till next time, shalom.
Are you done, Daddy?
Yes, sir, I'm done, son.
You are. You are.
I am done, son.
You
I am, son. I'm done, son.
You
What is that smell? Come here, let me smell you. Come here. Move. Pick your neck. Pick your head. Let me see. Move your hand. Get your hand. Let me smell. I'm trying to... What is that smell? What is that smell? That smell something. Let's smell something on you. What is that smell?
I don't know. You smell me, Daddy?
Let me smell. Come here. Let me see if you have the same smell. Raise up your neck. Raise up your neck. Let me smell you. Let me smell you. Let me smell you, boy. Yeah, I smell it on you too. Get out the way. Get out the way. I smelt it on you. I smelled it on you. Yeah. But till next time. Shilo out. Shalom, everybody. I hope y'all have a wonderful day.
Wonderful day.
Watch back, man. Watch back. Let me cut it. Let me stop it. Let me stop it. Boom.